What's up, everybody? Welcome to the X-Coils podcast. What are we doing here? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
I got an invite for a podcast. That's why I'm here. What are you doing?
I invited you to a podcast. That's why I'm here.
What were you talking about? Who are we talking about?
So hopefully we've got the F1 team jumping on here.
Because it's like a 50-50 on any podcast if the guest is actually going to show up for us.
Well, you know, I'm in Puerto Rico. You're somewhere else in La La Land, and they are in France, I assume. So a bunch of different time zones to line this up is always interesting. But yeah, it's been on the schedule for about a week or so. So
yeah, we've been talking about the new stuff coming from F1, and I think you had a great idea to get these guys on and talk about this new system because, I mean, we look at them as industry leaders, and I know they put a lot of thought into their new connection system, and I think getting their insight on like why, the shift.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear it from them. We can get down to why did they feel like they needed to change their system, because it's a huge shift, right? Like it's massive that you have to redesign everything. So,
well, and the compatibility, right? Like that's the big, obviously we're all shifting for better design and stiffer mass and better connections. But then, you have, it's a tough thing for these bigger brands. I mean, they've developed the sport to where it is, but that means the platform they're on probably needs to evolve, right? Because we've moved so much in foil design in the last 5 years. So it's good. It's forward thinking. It's what you have to do to be relevant. If you don't, you're going to fall behind because, if they're going to be a top brand, they've got to compete with these smaller new brands that are putting out different connections and upgraded, components. And I think this is a really cool way to attack it. But obviously, when you're big, this is a lot more difficult than when you're small.
Yeah. So I wanted to see what they have to say about it so that their big following can come to this podcast and hopefully get the answers that they want would be the idea. And also, I've got questions.
I've got questions too. Like, where did you get that sweet hat? Oh, it looks a lot like my sweet hat.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
I'm good. What about you?
Good. Yeah, we were just chit-chatting about you guys behind your back.
Oh, very.
I'm Walt. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
I'm Dylan.
So yeah, I'm Raphael, and people call me Doc here because Raphael, the founder, the name was already taken. So
at least they called you Doc. They could have called you something much worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So why Doc?
Why Doc is maybe because I'm thinking too much. And sometimes you're trying to find crazy ideas.
Sounds like the perfect foiler.
Yeah, kind of.
So assuming you foil, yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, perfect. That's great.
Hello. Almost matching shirt, Charles.
Yep.
All of you guys have this nice pullover button down.
Yeah.
It's winter here.
It's winter here. It's just you. It's just you, Dylan, who's in perpetual summer.
Yeah, we can't wear t-shirts here.
I've got my AC turned down to 63 to see if it'll cool off here in a second. So, hey Charles, how's it going? I'm Dylan.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm good, thanks. How about you guys?
Good.
Perfect.
I'm Walt. Good to meet you, Charles.
Hi, Walt. So where are you, Walt?
I was just in Puerto Rico yesterday, but I had to fly into North Carolina for some work. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth off the island all the time.
Right. Okay.
It looks like we got
all right.
And Julien.
Wow, look at this.
This is the biggest party we've ever had on the podcast. Yeah, this is great.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys. We came with a big team. Okay. Sorry, I had a lot of questions to answer. Download Google Chrome, all those stuff.
Julien, it says that you're on a live call-in. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm not familiar with this thing, so I don't know what I've done. Should I?
No, you're fine.
Leave and come back?
No, don't leave. You can. We need you here. Well, thanks guys for joining us. This is awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. So, I mean,
It shows a pretty big subject.
Yeah. Yes, it is. There's 3 of you, and maybe you guys can introduce yourself to the listeners so they get a little bit of context of who's on here.
Okay, who wants to start?
You, I guess.
Bring me under the bus. Hi everyone, my name is Julien. My parents founded F1 back in 1994. I've been in the company for 13, maybe 14 years now. And I took over the managing of the whole company 2 years ago. And I guess that's it. I'm really passionate about product. That's important to say, I guess.
It's good to hear.
Cool. So, hi guys, my name is Raphael Gerard. So as I said to the guys before, people here call me at F1 call me Doc because Raphael was Raphael. Then the name was the name of the founder, who is still around in the company. So I got to find another way to call me. I'm a structural engineer, so I've been working in the composites, so carbon fibers and all that, all my career. And I basically handling, well, we work in pair with Charles, who will present himself later. But just he's doing the hydrodynamic shapes, and I'm doing all the structural thing. And then because it's foil and it's highly correlated, that's we work in pair together.
Right on. Hey, Walt, can you turn your mic down a bit? I hear every sip of coffee you're taking.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, we
I
have
thought it was
problems
just
with
me,
Mike
so
all the
I didn't
time.
say anything.
You feel very close to us.
Yes, exactly. Is
I
that
like
better?
hearing you breathe.
It's
Yeah,
like
you were
you're
supposed
drinking
to work,
coffee
you were
here.
supposed to work this out beforehand, bro. This is my travel mic. It's not as good. Is that better?
Let's see. Take a sip of coffee. Let's see. maybe it's
No, I think I'm good.
okay. Just no more drinking. Just no more
I'll
drinking.
just no breathing or drinking. It's fine. I'll just
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll do rest for 1 hour.
Okay.
How about you, Charles?
Hey, so my name is Charles Bertrand. I've joined F1 in 2012 and started started designing
You guys keep
boards and then started the whole foil thing with Raphael about more than 10 years ago now, 12 years ago. And now I work externally, but I still collaborate exclusively with F1. And I design the shapes for all the boards and all the foils.
Okay, nice.
So I work quite closely with Raphael, with Doc, and with the rest of the team, obviously, and mostly Julien and the boss, Raphael.
The boss. So, I mean, there's only 3 of you guys here, but I assume the team is much bigger in your collaboration with this whole foil thing. All of you guys are testing the equipment. You all have a hand in the design. And the reason I wanted you guys on the podcast is because you're going to be changing your whole interface, right, to a whole new ecosystem. So I kind of wanted this podcast to be maybe a place and a reference for the F1 followers to come to get some answers, right? Because this is not an easy thing to do. I would definitely not want to be put in that position to have to change the system. But obviously, if you did, it's for a bunch of reasons, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to, get your guys' answers on that. And there might be some tough questions here because I'm not sure everybody's going to be super stoked on the change.
Yeah, this is hard-hitting journalism over here. So I hope you're ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's
They will be so.
it's
Just
totally
we need to
fine.
convince them about that, so they will be.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was the journey? Where did it start? And when did you guys start this process? Is this something that, you kicked off when you took over, Julien, that you were like, hey, it's time to upgrade this? Or was this something that was in the works beforehand?
So I took over the managing, but I was heavily involved already in directing the company with both of my parents years and years ago. So it's not like I arrived 2 years ago and want to change everything. Like I'm the son of the boss and I'm going to change all of that. So no, that's not the case at all. What happened is the foils and the mast we've been building for the last seasons have outgrown the connection. Basically, at F1, our goal is to make the best possible foils. And we're going to use a sentence during the marketing speech and launch of this new Titan 2 connection. And the sentence is, a chain is no stronger than its weakest link. And that's how we feel. And that's how we felt with the Titan 1 connection that we've had for the last 8 years. So basically, we could improve the carbon layups on the fuselage, the wings, the tail, the masts. But at the end of the day, the connection is not as stiff as the rest. Then that's going to be the weak points, and that's where we need to improve. So basically, 2 years and a half ago, I would say, we started designing this new connection. So that's a long project, 2 years and a half. We've done a lot of testing, a lot of thinking, obviously, because we knew that back in the days, changing the connection and failing would make or break the brand. So yeah, here we are now announcing it. Pretty
Damn,
stoked.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have everything, right? From beginner entry level aluminum to big fat foils for wing foiling and learning, all the way to people jumping 40 meters on a kite foil, right?
Yep.
So you have like an extreme range there. So there's a lot of foils to redesign. Can you guys tell us a little bit, like what, because we don't even have the system. I haven't seen it yet. So what is it currently and what did it change to? And
do you want to go, Doc? Yeah.
No, well, you can go, but it's basically, so the current Titan is what Julien is holding on the right side, on his left
This
hand.
one.
If you can maybe zoom in or like closing in a little bit so you can see. But basically what you have is a small part of the mast that inserts into the fuselage, and you have two little shoulders on both sides that basically kind of makes
Yeah, we would call it a saddle connection.
Yeah, basically it's a saddle connection, as you said. Basically the mast is part of the fuselage. So if you take a section, you will have one part of the top part of the fuselage will be from the mast, and then the bottom will be from the plane. And what we saw is that with bigger wings, that what you do when you have a moment like when you're twisting your wing, is that you will have the shoulder, the load will go into the shoulder and then into the screws in the middle. And so you're actually loading a lot of the screws, and that makes the connection as strong as the screws, for example. So with the new connection, so now on the left-hand side, so Julien's right hand.
show and tell, I love it.
You have something that is a little bit deeper, and I'll go along later on that. But making that a little bit deeper means that the load will, instead of reacting on the side between the shoulder and the screws, it will actually react horizontally between the bottom and the top part of the insert, the thing that inserts into the fuselage. And so you will not load as much the screws that we were doing before. And that's a considerable impact on the stiffness, because that you have something that is more, the change between the loads will go from the mast into the fuselage and back much more it's a smooth transition, rather than having something that goes from the carbon part into the screws and then back into the mast. So it's a bit difficult to explain, to be super simple, but let's say that you have the load will go a bit smoother between the mast and the wing in that new connection. But the problem with having an insert like other brands have, for example, let's call it a turtle-like. Mm-hmm. The problem with this is that usually when you want to have that, you need to have a big depth, because what you want to have is have the load reacted as far apart as possible. So you have basically the further apart they are, the less load there is being reacted. The problem with this is that you end up with a huge fuselage, and that has impact on maneuverability and then drag. And so what we developed, and that's why it took so long, is that we went back and forth between Charles and myself to basically find and the testing team, because Julien hasn't mentioned the team that's behind, but it's There's there's people in the office, but also people testing on the water and then feeding this back to us. So like pro level riders and then pro riders as well, feeding feedback to us. And then so we wanted to make everybody happy. So people that were looking for high maneuverability, people that were looking for low drag, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So
I was
as we
about
said,
to ask, did it affect the fuselage diameter? And obviously you ran straight into that. So that had to be one of your big considerations with, as you guys were changing over, right? Is keeping that kind of, because you guys have a pretty, narrow diameter fuselage for F1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of clearly the fuselage and the small diameter of the fuselage has been a good asset for the F1 range of foils because it's creating less drag and better maneuverability and a lot of positive things. So when we pulled the trigger on the new connection, saying, okay, we've got to do it now, it was always a case of, okay, how can we mitigate, the downsides and bring enough new good things out of it so that it compensates and the inevitable downsides that you're going to get, and so that the overall solution in the end is a better solution and not just a compromise of, okay, we had to do it, but it's just not as good, but we had to do it. So that's clearly not the case. In the end, it's we managed to make it better overall. So the fuselage is a little bit bigger in section, but really not much in the end. We really try to condense as much carbon meat in that given section, so that it could withstand the loads and keep the fuselage to the minimum. And we had a few iterations because while working out this shape, sometimes like one of the iteration, we had a small shape feature that looked absolutely harmless, and in the end, was creating a lot of drag. But so we had to work it through several iterations, and obviously the overall the outcome now is stiffer, and we tested it from the Escape 430, which Charles Brodel is using kite foiling and doing big air, up to the Jam 1900, the big pump foil early, so, and it's working. We've tested it, we've proof tested it on all the sizes and everything to make sure it works. And so it had to be small for the small foils, but it had to be solid for the big foils as well.
So would you say this is like a, go ahead.
Yeah, just like over the last 8-9 years, the amount of load that we're putting on the foil systems now are like
exactly. You get it. It's when we designed the T1 connection, it was in 2014 maybe or 15. So the foil back then, a big foil was a 600 square meters foil, so it's tiny now. So the loads have increased a lot, and this is why Julien was saying that the foils that we've designed now, the foils that the people want and that the market wants, have outgrown the connection that we had. And we had consistent feedback from providers saying, when we're testing new wings, testing new foils, they say, yeah, I can feel this foil is better, but I'm still, I can feel it's the connection is just not, the connection should be better. So actually this changing the connection is something we've discussed several times for the past maybe 5 or something years, and it's several occasions it was on the table saying like, should we do it? Because now the foils are getting bigger and bigger. And we really pushed it back as far as we could. Like we tried to change everything else before that. So we improved the layup, we improved the screws, we improved the manufacturing, and we tried everything, every little step that could come first, we did, and then it was time for the connection itself.
So would you say, is this kind of like a hybrid saddle connection that you guys have created? Is this kind of a new type of connection, or did you guys just move to a tuttle and it's just like a small tuttle? Because it's kind of hard to see from the screen here.
Yeah.
It's a small turtle. So there's no saddle, there's no shoulder.
There's no shoulder.
That basically the load. Because if you put a shoulder, then you get the downside of having the shoulder back. So you don't want to have the shoulder, but it's not. It's smaller than the rest of the brands on all the possibility that you have on the market. We didn't want to have at first we said, well, why not putting the same as everybody's, so we can be, people can choose between our foils and others, and then we can, if we are better, then the people will choose our foils. But the compromise on that, because the other brands were so deep that it was so much of a compromise into a drag and or the fuselage size, that we wanted to have something a little bit smaller. So it's a smaller turtle-like. And then there's also, it's a conical shape. So we didn't want to have people traveling with a hammer to undo their foils. Because sometimes when you have something that is very deep and with vertical sides, the foil has the tendency to be stuck in. So it's good. It's good connection. It's stuck. But you have to find a hammer or a mallet to undo your foil, and then that becomes a little bit of a downside. So we wanted to have something that is a little bit easier to undo, while being this a good strong connection.
So there's several brands that are still using like a saddle connection, right? So what do you think, just in general, you can't get the same strength out of a saddle connection as you can from a Tuttle style connection? Is that why you guys made the move?
Yeah, that's our point of view. Yeah, it's at
so you're not saying
point,
everybody's wrong, but you're saying you.
No, I mean, there's good side about having the saddle connection, but you have to. You are basically loading a lot of the screws, and then the screws, they are M6, for example. Well, we had M6 screws, and so it was a little bit borderline for us. And so instead of just changing the screws back to M8s, and then basically, having the same problems, 3 years down the track, then we wanted to have something that it was more future-proof, and that was our take. We're not saying that we are super right. We're not saying that the others are wrong, but it's one. There's a lot of parameters in designing a foil. There's structural parameters, hydrodynamics parameters, and then we are amazed with Charles every time we have a little thing. It's a little thing, and then has a huge effect on the feedback that we have is huge. And so we wanted to have, it's one way to look at all the parameters.
Does this allow you guys to design different wings with different materials that don't have to be as stiff? Because I know that the V2 skate was made in a higher grade carbon to get that stiffness out of it.
Yeah. No, because there's a lot of there's a race to be the stiffest anyway. Because we like all the brands and everybody wants to have a higher aspect ratio foil, and then the thinnest profile possible and things like this. So you need to have exotic materials anyway. Or when I say exotic, is higher grades, carbon fiber and things like this. So it just that. So
it's not like carbon fiber sourced from Madagascar or anything. There's no.
It's banana carbon fiber.
Yeah, exactly. Free trade, shade grown carbon fiber. Yeah.
No.
It's actually, I think the new connection is letting us tap in the full potential of the foils.
Yeah.
It's more like you could make the wings stiffer or better or something, but at some point, if the connection is not good enough, then you cannot make the full use and tap into the full potential of the rest of what the actual foil is. So having that new stiffer connection, and this is consistent with the feedback we get from all the testing that's been done on this. It's like, okay, now I can do this, which I couldn't do. I think this is more where we're heading.
Talking on the structural side too. I mean, we were talking about composites now. Obviously, you guys have put a lot of time into stiffness. Probably chord and profile, like Obviously, this is a skinnier Mast from what I'm hearing than the previous version. So you want to talk a little bit about what you guys have done from a layup standpoint and where you've kind of driven the stiffness and changed the design of the Mast overall?
Doc, it will be interesting if you explain a bit how we work with layups, because the Skate V2, for example, was not made of a stiffer material. It was we work a bit differently with this. I don't know, Doc, if you can explain this.
So I come from a structural background. So I designed boats and race cars and stuff like that before. And then we play a lot with different materials and different orientations. So the carbon fiber can have several stiffness and strengths. And you can play also with Kevlar fiber, glass fiber, and all that. And the orientation of each fiber will have an effect on the overall behavior of your foil, for example, or your mast. So what we did when we started to do 5 years ago was to play around. So basically supplying, because usually the factories can, you supply them the shape, and then they say, okay, well, we'll deal with the construction. And then you receive the samples, and then you test it, and you say, well, it's good, or it should be stiffer, or etc. And you go back to them, and then they do the job. What we wanted to do at F1 was to actually control that parameter, and with calculation that we can do in the background in the office, basically understanding what is the feedback from the test team, and then understanding what it does or what it means in terms of structural behavior. And once we actually got to understand the link between math and test feedbacks, that we could actually optimize the type of fiber that we were using in the mast, in the foils, the orientation of the fibers, etc., etc. And then, for example, on the foils, we played also with the extent of the fibers. So some fibers are stopping, let's say, mid-span, and then some are going all the way along. So all of that has an effect on the behavior of the foil, even hydrodynamically. So that means that if, for example, the skates from the V1 to the V2 is actually the same mold, and people were actually, doubting ourselves, saying, well, it's not the same mold. It doesn't behave the same, so it shouldn't be the same. And then people were quite amazed about, what we could actually do with just playing with fibers and, orientation and stiffness of the fibers, and basically makes all different foil with the same shape. And so that's what we started to do. So we started to do prototype first, and then we said, well, actually, we have something that is quite interesting. So we implemented that into the Skate V2, and then we also implement that into our development of masts and things like this. So all the different disciplines, all the different foils that we have, we always do the same. So we develop a shape. So we go back and forth with Charles, because Charles wants, basically it's always something that in the field that the Charles will want the thinnest profile possible, so you minimize drag, and I want something that is thick as possible to minimize stiffness, to maximize stiffness. So it's always a trade-off between us two, and then so we on the, for example, the higher aspect ratio foils, so as the momentum, for example, we on the phone, and we will say, okay, well, if I do a thickness of this, would you be happy with this? And I go back to the calculations, and back and forth. So it's really live, and we optimize that live, so we are both happy about what's going to do on the foils, and then we test this, and so we send the geometry to the factory. We receive the first samples, and usually with the samples we have several layups, so several constructions, and we give them to the test team. They elect. So without knowing anything, so we don't say, well, this one is stiffest or whatever. We say, well, it's A, B, C, and D.
That's a blind test.
Give us your best your best foil, and then we select that from that.
So
That's
not necessarily
nerve-wracking.
meaning the stiffest, right? You're saying the one that performs the best.
Yeah.
So the layups could be from, stiff to not stiff, right? And you're just saying each wing is going to have a different performance variance based on that.
Exactly.
Also, it can be differently stiff. It's about the distribution of the stiffness itself. Like, because you have tens of layers of carbon in each skin, and each layer can be, can be changed in the extent how far it goes along the span, the orientation, and the modulus of the fiber. So there's so many combinations possible, which you can look into and try. There's a huge area of development and research into this. So obviously you gotta be efficient and choose where you go. But there's a lot that can be done here besides the shape. On the highest spec foils now, we do a pre-structural study to know roughly what sort of thicknesses we're looking at for the foil to be to be all right, and then work on the shape, and then work back on the construction.
We're saying a lot here, but I think no, I'm joking. That's all right. I mean, we arrived in the podcast. Always when we do a podcast, we think transparency, and the goal is not to just say a marketing speech when we have a podcast, but go deeper and tell how we work, pretty much. So that's what we're doing, and I really like that. What you have to realize is when Doc give us and test team A, B, C, D foils with different layups, some of these foils you want to throw them in the garbage, and some of these foils are magic.
Is that feedback pretty consistent throughout the team?
Yeah. Almost always. So that there's a huge difference in between two foils out of the same mold. That's what I mean. So there's a whole area. Everybody thinks design, stiffness, but there's a whole area behind that. And we've been digging and learning about that on the last 3 years with Doc.
So with Doc, you're a composite specialist?
Yes.
He is. I'm not.
Yeah.
So
ahead,
the
Walt.
Skate V2, let's to take this a little further, you have the Skate V1 and the Skate V2. Was that evolution in layup giving you more stiffness, or was it just a different type of stiffness, right? Was it overall a more stiff foil and that's why you liked it better, or is it just the feel's different and you were kind of in the same zone?
It was actually less stiff than the first skate. So if you put it in a test bench and you test it, you will actually get more deflection. So the wingtip will rise more if you want. If you were testing the V2 compared to the V1. But you have to understand that stiffness doesn't mean a lot of things. Basically what's important is the feeling you get, the feeling of, you want to have an input on your foil and you want to get the feedback you want. So if you want to make a turn, for example, you want something that is basically almost linked between your feet and the foil. You want to make your foil do something, and it has to do and behave like you want.
Yeah.
And so optimizing the construction means that you will optimize the stiffness relative to the discipline. So what you're actually going to do with it. And the comforts of the rider. So sometimes, for example, it's the same for paddles, for example, in standard paddle. Sometimes the paddles are too stiff and you basically have broken arms after a few strokes because you can't actually physically have a pedal that is too stiff. And it's the same for foils, that sometimes the foil becomes too stiff and basically it's wobbling, or it's doing something weird in the water that you can't really understand, and that makes it a bad foil. So you want something that is predictable, and that's how we optimize that. The constructions is we want to have something that is predictable and comfortable.
Yeah, I do think that's important because we do test a lot of foils, and you read them on all the forums, everyone's talking about stiffness, right? And there's different types of stiffness, of course. I've found that some foils don't look or feel the stiffest, and I like the feel of them. There's a certain springiness to them in the surf that it's not unpredictable.
Yeah.
Right? and it gives you a little bit of a feedback. It is something special that, I mean, damn, to test on those parameters are extremely difficult to find a feel, right?
But the stiffness is a feeling. It's for someone that doesn't really understand what's going on. You feel it's stiff because you feel that it's doing what you want it to do. It's funny because when we tested the first stage V2, so we had a bunch of testing in-house with the testing, the local testing. And then after that, we extended the test to a wider audience. So test riders, not test riders, pro riders, for example, the people in Hawaii, for example, or things like this. And we said, well, okay, it's a new Skate V2. What do you think of it? And all the feedback were, oh, it's stiffer, man. And it's super stiff. It behaves what I want it to be, and stiffness is really something that you say when you're in tune with your foil, and it's not necessarily mechanically right, but it's okay. It just means that you're in sync with your foil, and it's good.
So when you say that you're going to change from this T1 to this T2 system, is it necessarily that it's stiffer, or you're getting?
I was going to say
the tolerance is right.
That applies to the wings, but for the connection, stiffer connection is usually still better.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
I just wanted that to be clear. Yeah.
Stiffer mast and stiffer connection is always good, but after that you play with the stiffness of the wing to release some of it, and then have some in the middle, for example, and release some at the tips, or vice versa, or things like this. This is all part of the control and the feel. But we had to change the layups from the Skate V2 to the Skate V3, which will come with the new connection, because the connection has an effect also on the stiffness of the overall combo.
So
yeah, for sure.
You could have a loose mass connection that would be nice when you want to induce the roll into a turn, Oh yeah, it's easy to put into the turn. But for the rest of the time, it's just a waste because you never know, you're not in control. So basically what you want the connection to be super stiff and to transmit everything correctly. And then you can design the foil as you want to have that nice feeling that you're looking for.
What do you guys think the percentage of improvement on this system is from the T1 to T2? If you were going to say in terms of how solid the connection is?
We'd say it's about 25 to 30% in stiffness of the connection. But that doesn't mean a lot with the overall thing.
What
But it
about
doesn't
the
mean
overall
that
testing of the mast itself, like not the connection, but the actual mast stiffness?
So the mast stiffness is a bit different because we are also optimizing the construction of the masts and the new masts. Overall, over the years, we optimized the masts so we have 3 different range now, or we will have 3 different range in 2026. We'll have a standard carbon, high modulus carbon, and then UHM, so ultra high modulus carbon. And so, for example, our current HM, which is 14 millimeter thick profile, that we couldn't. It was a lot to ask to go stiffer within the same envelope, if you want. So with the same geometry of the mass, we couldn't go stiffer. Because if you throw a lot of carbon at the end, because you go down the profile, so the fibers in the center doesn't really do anything. So you can throw a lot of carbon, but it's actually wasted carbon because they're not as efficient as the one on top. So we couldn't put a lot of more stiffness in the 14 HM. So we had to increase and then change the fibers to UHM fibers.
So we talked
and on
a
these
lot
3
about
masts.
Go ahead. I think I got a delay going, so
We both got questions here, Walt.
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry, Dylan, but
Yeah, go ahead.
just to come back on your previous question on how much it improves, how much new T2 connection improves the foils. I think Doc answered on the bench, it's like 25 to 30%, but in the water, I would say if you take the same foil and different connection, which we did, obviously, 15 to 20% better. You're going to have a foil that is more controllable, more responsive. 100% of your power when you're pumping or carving will go into the foil instead of just going into the flexibility of the mast and the connection. We were talking about it this morning. With the new connection, we are able to ride higher on the masts, which is always better, obviously. So everything feels more responsive and controllable and smooth and healthy under your feet, basically. So I would say personally 15 to 20% better. And on top of that, we took the opportunity of the new connection to improve all the foil designs, all the front wings and the tails. So you add on top of that.
Yeah, that was my next question.
So the new range this year for spring summer and it's a new beginning for F1. It's a game changer. I hate this expression game changer because everyone uses it. But it's a game changer within the F1 range. Big change.
So I was just going to touch back on the stiffness conversation because I think it's really interesting. And I think we're at the time where we can kind of understand what stiffness means to our riding, right? Like in the early days of foiling, everything was pretty flexible, right? And we really didn't know any better. You were riding these noodle masts and flexible wings, and it was just part of the learning curve. You adapt to it. And then over time, I think we've been so obsessed with stiffness. But the reality is, like we were talking about, it's like a well-tuned suspension on a car, right? Your brain adapts to the slight delay, the micro millisecond delay and stuff. And what that I feel like in my riding does when I get the right fit, it actually allows me to perform more aggressively because I've got that little bit of give and delay and like what I'm doing where when the connection is so stiff and the reaction is so tight, like you were saying, you can kind of get almost a feeling of wobbliness or a lack of control. Whereas like when you get that cushy suspension, it's like being in a Cadillac. Whereas like if you're just sitting on if the leaf springs aren't doing anything, you feel every little micro bump and whatever. And I think it overall, affects. So maybe we don't need to be so obsessed. We need to be more obsessed with feel and overall experience than we do about this. Like, is your mast tested stiffer than his mast? Like, who cares, right? Like, which one can I rip harder on?
Well, I mean, the different disciplines, you need different things too.
Exactly.
Like surfing, sure. You can have a little bit of flexibility here and you could be torsionally stiff and you could have some bend in your mast. Like there are different feels there, but when you're downwind foiling, racing, you might want the stiffest thing possible, to get the energy out of it.
Well,
or the thinnest possible.
Yeah.
So it all depends. Basically, the foils with the layup and the construction of the wings and the foils or the mast, you can actually, engineer and work out because you got leverage into, I want to get this feel or that feel, and because basically things distort under load and they distort in certain ways, they bend, they twist, and what you feel is actually the result of how it bends and twists. The connection, you cannot, if it moves a little bit, you cannot control how it moves or, by which extent or in which direction or whatever. So you want the connection to be stiff, and then we can tune the wings and the mast profiles to be as we want them to feel.
So usually the rule of thumb or what people need to realize is that usually the mast and the connection needs to be as stiff as possible. And then after that, the fine-tuned suspension, as you mentioned, Walt, is coming from the wing itself. And then, as you said, depending on the discipline that you have and you want to do, then you will have different feel and different suspension. It's the same as a car. If you're going off-road or if you're going around a racetrack, you don't have the same suspension. And it's exactly that. People designing foil need to understand what is my foil going to do or be used in terms of discipline. And then based on that, optimize the construction so it basically feel right for the discipline.
Nice one, Walt. Speaking Doc's language, designing cars and foils, talking about suspension.
Exactly.
I'm listening, baby. I'm listening.
No, I think you nailed it here. You nailed it with the Walt
is this mast
feel.
skinnier then?
Well, they've got 3 masts.
Yeah. Basically, look, we're all talking about skinny masts. So tell me, do we have a skinny mast? Or do we have something? Is it 12 mil, like millimeter? Sorry, Dylan.
Millimeter.
We've been editing out the millimeter and saying mill, which is obviously milliliter. So, anyways.
Yes, we have that. Doug was saying we have the classic 16 millimeter. I'm talking carbon mast only because you guys, I'm pretty sure, are not interested into aluminum mast here.
But it's good,
But
aluminum still.
we have the aluminum 16, the carbon mast 16, the carbon mast 14, both in HM and UHM, two models, and the 12 mil in UHM.
Damn.
So yes, we have the 12 mil too for
Very excited
mostly
about
for
that.
downwinding. I would say the 12 mil is really for downwinding or people winging that are really focused. I would say 80% on free flying. But then as an overall mast, if you want the best mast possible, the 14 UHM will be the best, I would say. Versatile mast, that's the one I'm using. That's the favorites of the test team too. And then the 14 HM is a very good price to value, and the 16 carbon is an extremely good price to value. I'm not sure about the USD prices because I'm not making those prices, but in euro we're talking under 1,000 euros. So really good price to value. So that's how we build the range pretty much.
And which one is the stiffest?
14 UHM.
Okay.
Right. The 16 millimeters and 14 HM are the same stiffness, relatively. Basically, the design point was more of for price targets. For the 16, we wanted to go under price, so we use different fibers. But by using these different fibers, we had to grow a little bit in thickness to keep the stiffness the same. But the 14 UHM is the stiffest, both in torsion and bending. And it's something that it's a mast where you can go on it, push on it, and then it will respond quite well.
So when you're testing your skinny mast, did you test it across your whole range of foils, right? You guys talked about from a 400 up to the Jam, which is a 1900. I know it's a huge load on such a small mast. You know, is it basically, if you buy the skinny, can you put it on any of your foils? Or are you just suggesting, hey, if you're 100 kilos, don't put this on a foil over X square centimeters? Yeah,
it's more something that if you're depending on your level, but more on your on your size and build, and the foil that you're using with, it's not a foil for everybody. Like we've been testing it for in with the Jam, for example, 1900s. But over 75, 80 kilo rider, and it's going to move a little bit, and depends on the size also on the mast. So for example, 85 centimeters will behave differently than the 75, for example. So if you're pump foiling, then you're going to use the 75 to 80 centimeters mast. So choosing a 12 mil will improve your glide, but it will be a little bit more wobbly. So it really depends on the level and what you like also. So we recommend to test both the 12 and 14 UHM if you're going for a UHM mast. Testing the two. So depending on the foils that you have and your build, then you will prefer one or the other.
I mean, it comes down to feel again as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
it does.
It's really crazy when testing with the downwind team, both the test team here and the athletes in Hawaii and everywhere. While downwinding, I see that a lot of athletes, they are ready to accept a little bit of wobbling to gain more glide and more speed. While when you are focused on carving or turning, then it's a bit different. You're not ready to accept that because you want the best control possible. That's my case, for example. So that's why I'm going with the 14 UHM when I know Jack or Simeon out in Oahu, they will go for the 12 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're looking for the best performance possible, the fastest possible, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of the things I've noticed from getting a chance to ride some of these skinny masts is I notice a direct shift in how I perceive the overall maneuverability and the square centimeters of like the foil that's underneath me, if that makes sense. Like when I go from say a 13 or a 14 to an 11 or a 12, at least in my riding, I'm noticing I feel like I've got maybe a little more aggressive like yaw control. It just feels a little bit slipperier and more responsive. Is that an actual thing that's happening by reducing the size? I mean, is that more of a chord or is that a thickness thing? And then how is, or am I just perceiving that it's like in my head, right? Or is it really not happening? Is the turning, is the maneuverability not getting better if the chord and the mast gets skinnier, or is that something that's real?
I feel like that's the chord.
Yeah,
I think so.
Right? Chord, right? Because that would allow you more twisting.
Yeah, exactly.
The yaw for sure comes from the chord, I would say. So yes, you're gonna have more yaw, but I also think when you lose stiffness in the mast, you lose a lot of controllability in your carving, for example. So yep, again, it's a good. Do you want to go more straight or do long curves and glide rather than just control and do big carves? It really depends on what you want to do. Yeah, but I'm not sure that's what the big part of the market needs, basically.
Yeah, it's the chord on the 12 is just a little bit bigger than on the 14 because it's hard to if you drop both the thickness and the chord, you are going to lose stiffness. There's a limit to how high modulus carbon you can reach. There's a limit to everything somehow. If we were going to drop both thickness and chord, we would have lost too much thickness for our liking. So we dropped only the thickness, and we actually we started with more chord than we have now, and we reduced it to the maximum we could, or we were ready to accept. So the mast is faster only because of the thinner thickness.
Yeah, there's a 5 mil difference at the bottom. There's a 5 mil difference in chord between the 14 and the 12. So the 14 is a 120 mil chord, and then the 12 is 125.
And that makes so much sense too, right? Because your skinny mast to go straight and fast with a little bit of carving, right? You're making it for racing, whereas your stiffer mast, Julien says that's his go-to for rip and turns, and that makes a ton of sense. Cool. I think this is great because we talk about this stuff, but we don't really know until we talk to the experts, right? Like we're just like, why is this happening? What am I experiencing? Like, why do these foils feel this way? And I think the whole industry is like that,
We are the experts. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Aren't you supposed to be experts?
We're the expert interpreters.
So what does this mean for an F1 rider moving forward that's already invested into the system that they currently have? Like, are they expecting a whole redesign of your whole foil lineup? Like, have all the foils changed? Or is there just a feeling change because of the connection? And then is there any compatibility with the tails or the wings, the current stuff that they have?
So there are 3 cases. The first one, you have the FCT, our beginner foil. Then it doesn't change anything because it doesn't have a Titan connection. The mast is going straight into the fuselage. The second case is you have an aluminum mast, and that's an easy one because you just have to change the little part that connects the mast to the fuselage. So that's easy. The big change will go for the carbon mast, where basically you have to change your mast and your foil. So that's where the challenge is for us. We have to convince people to change their whole quiver for a new F1 quiver. That's I know you're gonna have the question about the possible adapter later, so maybe Doc will answer that. Our goal was to redesign the whole range. Last year, 2025, we already had some good designs on the front wings, tails, and masts that we kept for this year because we didn't want to push a lot of new innovation last year in 2025. Just to say in late January to everyone, okay, we're going to change the connection. You have to change everything again. So we kind of set back all the innovation that we had, and we're going to release it this year in spring, summer 26. So yes, the skate V2 is, there's a new skate that's going to be called the V3. The Eagle X changed. The 70s, we haven't changed the design, but just added new sizes because we didn't have a lot of sizes compared to other foils in the range. And it's one of the best sales for us. We're going to have a new momentum on your race foil this summer for the race. And we are coming with a brand new foil called the Sushi late spring. That's going to be 100% surf dedicated foil. What am I forgetting? We didn't change the jam.
Jam stays the same. Escapes
the
are
connection
staying the same as well.
Escape too, yeah. So 90% of the range, I would say, is changing with new connection and new design and new layup.
Yeah. Regarding tails, the tails are compatible with the. So if you had tails, you can put them into the new planes. But we're also coming with new tails as well that are optimized for the new front wings as well. So you can use if you like your tail. Yeah, if you like your tails or you cut it to the way exactly you want, then you can still use it. But we're coming with the new tails as well that are going with the front wings.
It's super exciting because obviously it's a big change, but it had to be done. So we really pushed everything we could to maximize the gains, for the customers, the F1 customer who's going to, follow us on that move. And when they feel ready to change, they will gain so much out of the new designs, new layup, new connection, new sizes, new tails. And it's really, Julien is saying to us a lot of time, it's a new generation of foils that are coming now in the way they feel. It will go back again to that feel. And I think he'll tell more about it in a minute, but yeah, so much new things, and it's a new step, clearly a new step forward.
Really excited to hear you're putting out a new surf foil too. I think that's super exciting. I really do think surf foils are having like a little bit of a renaissance this year, and there's a lot of new designs that are getting to put into them, which is really, I don't know, I just think the riders are ready. Like you have a bulk of riders who've dedicated the last 4 years into building their skills up, and we're all getting to a point where we're able to do things that we saw in our mind. And sometimes the foils were holding us back, and I think this kind of new generation of surf foils is allowing people to do some things that are kind of maybe we didn't think were possible before, right? Surfing deeper in the pocket and more maneuverability and stability at high speeds, but still being able to like hit that big roundhouse at the lip still, right? And I think that's the kind of shit that gets people frothed up. So I can't wait. And I love sushi.
Changer.
I love sushi. Game changer.
You named the program here. That's exactly the program, basically. Surf in the pocket, and I mean, I don't want to tell too much because it's going to be released later in probably May.
Come on, Julien, give us something.
I know that we come back on the podcast maybe for this point.
All right, that sounds good.
Send us a foil, come back on the podcast.
Surf for you to test, right, Julien?
Sorry, say again.
You asked, I think, Billy for some surf for you to test for your next. So maybe, depending on when you release the test, then maybe we can send you sushi and a skate. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that would be exciting.
We can wait to release it until you can send the sushi.
No, we are definitely attending. We're definitely attending this surf foil party that's going on right now for sure.
It's pretty amazing because if all the brands release the same year, you can make sure that we've been working for like 1 year, 2 years on this design. So it's pretty funny to see all our competitors launching surf dedicated foils when it means we kind of had the idea at the same time, all of us. So it's funny to see that we are going in the same direction in some ways.
So I feel like you guys must have been holding back to wait for this system to be ready, before you can launch the things that you aspire to launch, right? There's a huge design constraint in having your old system and having to, man, I don't envy your guys' job having to redesign and then, marketing. I guess, Julien, you're more in the marketing side, is having to communicate this to everybody. Right? You guys have so many sports. I mean, you do it all, right?
It's been a pretty stressful 2 years and a half. It's still very stressful because, we're going to announce it late January 29th, I think, Chloe told me, something like that.
Wow, it's coming up here.
I'm stressed, I think some people, I'm going to read the comments, some people will insult us probably. Some will understand. I hope most of them will understand. But I think we made everything possible to have a smooth transition. We partner with our shop network also to help their customer do this transition, But I'm more confident now, and you guys are a retailer, so you know how it works. But as a retailer, we do pre-orders with the retailers. So back in October, we sent out the catalog, price lists, and some samples to the retailers and distribution. Basically, all our big customers, they could test the T2 connection and the new designs, especially the Scale V3, 4 months ago. And the feedback was 100% positive, and everybody's amazed, and the pre-orders are amazing too. So I'm much more confident now than I was back in September before the pre-order season. Now I know that our distribution network really trusts this new change and the new designs. I believe that the end customer will follow probably.
Yeah, I was on one of those meetings with all of the retailers in the USA about 4 months ago, and the reaction from everybody wasn't the most kind initially, right?
I know.
And they're like, "What the heck? What's going on? Like, I've so much invested in this. I have all these customers. I'm not as deeply invested in F1 yet because I've only started just recently."
Yet.
But it's always scary. But you have to think of the
Exactly.
Yes, you have to think of the yeah. Did I say yet?
Yes.
Yet.
I'm expecting more now. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. I mean, I kite foil the Escape. Like, I got that thing right away. So yeah, and you have to think of like what positives kind of come out of this, right? And I think now we're at a maturity in foiling that people can see the positive of changing a system for the benefit of everybody, right? The users, the designs, and the feels that we're going to get out of it. So, I mean, yeah, hard decision, but I think you definitely have to move in this direction.
Thank you. Yes. I think everyone was pretty upset until they tried the new foils, and then it's all good. So I think that's a good sign, and that gives me a lot of confidence for the future. But we're gonna have a rough few hours probably just after the posting of this news.
Yeah, for sure. And what's this look like? Go ahead, Walt. Go.
Okay, cool. Thanks. well, I was just gonna say, F1 is a very patient brand, right? Like we saw that with the Parawings. Like, you weren't in a rush to just put something out to market. And I think when the Frigate came out, it really was, it was best in class. It was amongst the best wings that had been produced at that point. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't understand the decisions these guys are making. This is the future of our industry, is the decisions you're making right now. And if you don't position your company to be a strength for tomorrow, then you're just going to die on what you were doing yesterday. So, I mean, whether they understand it or not, like, you are a driver of the industry. Like, you're one of the biggest brands. We look to you for the next iterations in quality and whatever, just like we look to the other leaders. And I think this is just part of that journey. I think that you have to make these kind of decisions as a company, and your customers will follow you because you're not compromising on the things that we really want, which is like the best gear we can shred on, great customer service, and also your gear's just sexy. I mean, there's style and vibe to the stuff that F1 puts out, and I think that's part of the game too.
Thank you for the nice words. I really appreciate it. That's why we're in business. What you need to understand and that everything that comes out of F1 comes from the water. So today we've been talking a lot about computer simulation, band, design, and everything. In the end of the day, my dad and I are really passionate about being in the water, and everything that we release on the market has been tested in the water by us and the testing, and is approved also. And that's also why in Parawings we came late, because we weren't happy about what we had until we had the Frigate, and then it was time to release in the market. So we don't really care about being first. We care about having the best or one of the best. So that explains what happened on the Parawing side of things for us. And it's the same with the foils now. So we had this Titan 1 connection for 8-9 years, I think, and now we are with the new Titan 2. We hope we're gonna have a few more decades without changing, without the stress of changing the connection.
So you think this new interface is the foundation for the next 5 to 10 years for F1?
More than 5 years for sure, I hope. Yeah. So yeah, let's say 10 years more.
Until we're all riding full monoblock foils.
Maybe something's gonna come. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
It's hard to tell what we're gonna do in 10 years. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't see Parawing coming, so
yeah. No, it's hard to tell, and things are changing faster every new generation, the cycle is shorter. So who knows? Well, I mean, it's for sure, it's as future-proof as we can think of and as we can do right now. So we really try to do it right. We really try to do it sincerely, in the way we approached it with, being sober on the releases last year and trying to bring as many new gains in the new collection this year. On the commercial side, on the marketing side, on the product side, we really try to be as sincere as we could on this change, because we know what it means.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys ever think that there would be an industry standard of a connection system, or it's just too far-fetched? Everyone's like, there's always chatter about it, but I think it would be a very complicated thing to do.
Too many personalities in that business, I reckon, behind the brands, and it seems to be working, already as it is. So I don't know if I'm right, but the way I see it is, there's probably the gains in having in terms of, for the brands and the commercially are not sufficient for everybody to make the compromise to agree with the competitor's vision or something, because what that means is that everybody has to agree with some other people's idea, and it's
never going to happen.
Proved to be difficult up to now. Yeah, so I would doubt it, really. So
I mean, I completely agree. I'm just asking the question. I would prefer everybody to be pushing on their own system, because everyone's striving to have the best, right? And that's what drives innovation. If not, you just stay stagnant, and then you're stuck in a design constraint. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. You guys want to add anything before we sign off here? I really appreciate you guys getting on with us, and I was excited for this one. We've only talked to one team member from F1, which was Nicolas, regarding the frigate. And I think after that podcast, he's part of the team now.
Nico's been working, I think, 6 months as a freelance, and then it was going very, very well. We were very aligned. So now Nico's working in-house.
Nice. That's awesome. It was super nice to sit down and chat with him. It was great to chat to you guys. I really appreciate your time, and I really hope people see the light in this situation, and I really look forward to testing out all your new foils and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, I got one word. Sushi, baby. Sushi. I'm excited.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.